Good afternoon, everybody out there in Facebook land. This is Damien here from Renegade, and I had an idea, and I thought I'd put it up to the group and put forward to all of you. As you know, we've been doing some live streams. In fact, Renegade's been live streaming. We've been doing numerous live streams for months and months and months now. Actually, well before the COVID lockdown forced everybody to go and do live streams. But we've been doing them for a while, and our last trip out, we received some questions and some queries about the volumes and how we get the sound that we're getting and how's it all being set up. So I thought I'd take a moment just to walk you through our process and what it actually takes for Renegade to go live and do a live stream. Now, if you're not familiar, live streaming is essentially the process of hitting record and then showing everybody in the world what you're doing live. So you can't cover up for any mistakes. The way it comes out is the way it comes out. But that doesn't mean that you can't prepare. And when you live stream, most people will actually just set up a phone, get onto Facebook, and there's a function on Facebook to just simply go live, and it will just broadcast anything that you're doing. Obviously, when it comes to live streaming a band, there's a little bit more setup involved, especially in our case. Now, as I said, we've been doing quite a few live streams, but the process for us, we'll go live for probably about 45 minutes to an hour at a time, but the setup time behind that is actually closer to 3 or 4 hours. And the reason that is we don't just set up a camera and click record. There's actually a whole lot of mixing and processing going on behind the scenes. So if you've watched our live streams before and you kind of notice that things sound a little bit different or a little bit cleaner, that's because of this process that I'm about to get into. Now, it's a little bit technical, but I've always found it quite interesting, and hopefully you will too. So the first thing for us is that we need to be able to receive a signal from every instrument in our band. So we need to mic everything up, in other words. Now, when you think microphones, you think, well, that's great. Dave sings, Kevin sings, Gary sings, so that's 3 microphones. How hard is that? Well, that's actually more complicated than that, and significantly more complicated, in fact, because every other instrument in the band needs to also be amplified or sort of brought into this mix that we're talking about, which is really just a balance of all of the different things that we're hearing. So we use, I have an interface which collects all of these signals, and it's a beautiful interface by a company called RME. It's called a Fireface UFX, and that allows you to plug in instruments or plug in multiple microphones and to adjust the volumes of each of them and even the panning, so how far left and right they sit, to give you sort of an overall sound of what you'd like the band to be like. So sometimes you'll plug in and one microphone might be too loud compared to the other. So you use some software to adjust all of your volumes. So how many inputs are we talking about? Well, for Renegade, that's actually a few. I think it's over a dozen, probably 15 or 16. So yes, it's true. We need to mic up Dave and we need to mic up Kev and Gary. But also, the drums themselves. We've got the kick drum, we've got the snare drum, the toms, the floor toms. We need an overhead microphone so we can capture the cymbals. I have a little sampler that plays a bunch of farmyard animal sounds that you may have heard. So there's that. Sometimes we run a click track, which is really just a consistent beep that we all hear, which helps us run certain sounds or keep in time in the background. There's that. Then, of course, we've got Dave's guitar. We've got Kev's guitar. Gary's bass needs to be plugged in as well. Jeff's keyboards need to be plugged in. Now, he plugs in stereo, so he has a signal that goes to the left of our mix and to the right of our mix. And then all of that has to come into our system together. All of the sounds and volumes need to be balanced. And then what we do is we send all of that out as one signal to our stream. Now, we use a software program called OBS. It's open broadcasting software, and it's a free solution. And what that allows us to do is to also then plug in some cameras so we can have a couple of different camera views, and then we can switch between those camera views. We can import the sound from this mix that I've just spoken about, and we put all that together, and then we send that out into Facebook land or YouTube or whoever we are streaming to at the time. Now, one of the complications of that is that we don't hear what goes out on the live stream. What typically happens is that everybody in the band actually gets their own separate balance or their own separate mix of what it is that we're hearing. And the reason we do that is because we need to hear certain things differently. For example, Gary may need to hear his bass louder than everybody else because that's the instrument that he's playing, so he needs to be able to hear what he's doing. In the old days, you just put speakers in front of the band, facing the band, and they just get the sound blasted at them, and that's pretty much it. But now we've moved to what the industry calls in-ear monitoring, or IEM. And if you have a look very closely at some of our clips, you'll see that I'm using them. In our last live stream, everybody was using them, so we don't see speakers at the front anymore. Everybody's got earphones in, and they're getting a separate balance of all of those different sounds I was talking about, independently being sent to them. Now, in addition to that, because we were actually live in my driveway last time, we also set up a PA system so that anybody walking past could also hear a separate mix. So all of this stuff gets inputted into our interface, and then it gets outputted a number of ways. One goes to the live stream, another send goes to Gary, another send goes to the people who have actually turned up and who are watching. So you can start to understand that the scenario gets quite complex once you start adding all of these elements to it. And of course, once you set up a PA and you actually have sound being thrown back out, that can actually interfere with what we think we're hearing and what we think we're sending to the live stream. So in the last live stream, some of the vocals, Dave's vocals and Gary's vocals, were a little bit quiet, and the reason they were is because I didn't have them turned up loud enough in the balance that the live stream was getting. But in the acoustic environment, in the environment around us and what we were hearing in our own ears, they were loud enough. So it was, I guess we were tricked into thinking the volume was right, when in effect it wasn't. Okay, so this is part of the complication of doing it. So just to recap, we have all of these signals that come into our main desk, and then from that desk we mix everything internally. We send it to OBS. Then OBS receives that sound that we've mixed. We then add some camera views which we can flick to, and my lovely wife Tanya actually sits behind the curtain, and she's changing between those camera views depending on what she sort of feels is good to look at or important, which usually isn't us. And that's it, and that's how we do the mix. So once that record button goes on OBS and everything goes live, it's pretty much a case of hanging onto your seats and just going for it. That said, look, we love the feedback. We are, as I said, having a great time doing these live streams. And if you do have any suggestions for how we might not only do it better, but for things that you'd like to hear that you aren't hearing, whether they be songs or certain people within the mix, or if you have any more questions about how we go through this process of setting up and getting ready for a live stream, please let us know, because we'd love to keep doing more, and we want to keep raising the bar. Even once the venues open back up again and we are able to go out and play shows again, I think we're going to still persist with this live stream, because unfortunately not everybody can get out to a show and see the full thing that we offer. So we feel this is the next best thing, and we do like the fact that people get to see what we do, whether they be a million miles from us or sometimes just what we're doing backstage or behind the scenes to do what we do. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for listening and thanks for watching in. And have a great day, and we hope to see you on a stage or on a live stream soon. Take care. If you could